Welcome, Panther fans, and I guess specifically track and field supporters. If you're checking out this video, we are, about midway through our season, and I thought it would be a good opportunity, a good time with this being an off weekend to come on and give a fairly lengthy update. I would say about the season thus far. I don't do these after every meet, but I do like to do a couple per season, and I thought that was a good time. We are actually past the midway point of our season, both in terms of the calendar and in terms of how many meets that we have. So we have 8 regular season meets scheduled this year, and we have already competed in 5 of those. So we have 3 regular season meets left, and plus the regional meet. So, one thing that's interesting about this season is, as there have been many interesting things about this school year, so we have no Saturday meets left. Typically Saturday, a big day for track and field, as well as cross country races and meets. We had 2 Saturday meets early on. We had a third one scheduled last weekend at Round County that got rained out. That was all we had scheduled, and that's not due to COVID necessarily. It's just coincidentally how the season schedule worked out. We of course look at geographic locations when we're working on the meet schedule. We want to hit up the meets that are close to home. And, it just was a year where there weren't many Saturday meets. So no Saturday meets left on the schedule. Of course, that can always change as things have had to change for us, for weather and for COVID, just for other things throughout the school year. But no Saturday meets left on the schedule. I will make a comment about Saturday meets, and there is the biggest benefit to the Saturday meet is that it gives us a consistent Monday through Friday training schedule. There's certainly a strategy and technique to scheduling workouts in track and field and in cross country. And, the Saturday meet makes that a lot easier to plan and probably a little bit more effective. Obviously there's so many days, that you want to have easy days before your meet, and sticking a meet in the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just kind of makes that more challenging. But it is what it is, and we'll make it work. And, we'll make the weekday meets work. The main practice schedule may look a little different with a few days on there practicing that we normally wouldn't. And honestly, that's probably why. It probably has to do with when our meets fall and how our training schedule will work out. So, but we're coming out of a very busy stretch. After going 3 weeks between our first meet and our second meet, which is unusual. We kind of did that because of the late start that we got with winter sports being pushed back and plus spring break being thrown in there. We were okay with that. With that sort of longer than usual break between meets, we went into a stretch where we had 4 meets in 11 days, and that's really almost too many. But it is what it is, and we made it work. And now after having 4 meets in 11 days, we're in a stretch where we're going to have just 3 meets in 30 days. So obviously the kids like meets, the kids like competition. I like meets and I like competition because you get to see the benefit and the reward of your hard work and practice. But the training sessions are where you can really improve. Yes, you can improve in meets based on, learning some strategies and, racing techniques and strategy, things like that. But your big gains are going to come through your training sessions. And when you have 4 meets in 11 days, I can tell you, you're getting very little what we call quality workouts, or what a regular person might call a hard workout day. You just can't, when you're competing that much, you can't get, there's no time to get in those quality workouts. Those quality workout sessions, that's where you're going to see your gains and see your improvements. So, while we did see consistent gains, and even in those 4 meets, even in the very last meet we just had on Tuesday in Mason County, we still saw people setting personal records. They, weren't necessarily as big of gains. And I think, part of the reason why is because we've not had these quality workouts. So, we're looking forward now to getting back in sort of a more of a routine that has a lot more training. That's, I think, what is important to us and what we need going into the regional championship here in about a month. But The four meets that we have we're in were very positive. Every person on the team had at least one PR during those meets, and most people had multiple PRs per personal records, particularly the kids that compete in multiple events. And in addition to the personal records, we had some school records broken, I think in four different events. So, as I think I mentioned in the newspaper or on one of the articles, personal records show individual improvement, and obviously that's important. And that's what we've always focused on. Cross country, track and field, always focused on personal improvement. Personal improvement, we've always said, will lead to bigger and better things, and we're starting to see that. Saw it in cross country, now seeing it in track and field. But school records, I think, take it to another level. Even though we don't have a long and storied history in track and field, when you start seeing school records broken, I feel like you're seeing not just improvement on the individual level, you're starting to see improvement and elevation within your program. So that's really positive to see. So here in just a couple minutes, we're going to talk about the individual kids and the events that we're competing in. But before we do that, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about a little bit about scoring and placement in track and field, and how that looks in a regular season meet, how that looks at the state meet or the region meet. So, just like cross country, you have first, second, third, fourth place teams in track and field, and it's by points. So if you have a kid that places first, they get, let's say, 10 points in the meet. Kid places second, gets 8 points. Kid places third, gets 6 points. And that can vary a little bit from meet to meet, but obviously your kids that are first are getting the higher points. Kids that are further down getting fewer or no points. And at the end of the meet, they add up all those points, and the team with the most points is your meet champion, first place team. Obviously, the team next down the list, second place. And for Augusta Independent, at this point, and probably, maybe indefinitely, it's hard to judge our success and our kids based on meet scores, because we have entirely too many events we just don't compete in. We have 9 kids competing, and we do basically distance events, throws, and jumps, and that's pretty much it. And so when you have kids not competing in the hurdles, that's 2 events. You have kids not competing in the sprints, that's 2 or 3 events. We do have a couple kids in the 400, but don't have any kids in the smaller sprints. No kids doing the triple jump, no kids doing the high jump, no kids doing the pole vault. That's way too many points or too many events. You're not giving yourselves an opportunity to to compete and get points. And the bottom line is, with limited staff, track and field staff, and with limited equipment and limited places to do this training, we don't have track facility. It's just really too difficult for us to compete in that many events. So we limit our scope of events to primarily, running events, jumps and throws. And, we just don't have kids this year that are interested in the, really the sprinting events. So, even this year we're focused more on distance. But that's why it's important that we don't judge our team success based on those, I would say, team results. So how do you qualify for the state meet? Well, first of all, there is a track and field region champion, track and field region runner-up. But unlike cross country, where the whole team goes to state, if you're a cross country region, or at least your top 7 go to state in cross country if you're the regional champ. That's not the case in track and field. You can be regional champ and still only a couple kids go to region, right? Just that regional championship is just an honorary title, more or less. To get to track and field region, you have to place in the top 2 in your event. So let's take the 1,600 meter run. They take the top 2 kids from each region. And then what they'll do is they'll look at the next best 10 in the whole Class A state. So they'll take out all the kids in the regions, the top 2 kids that qualified. They'll look at the next 10, and those 10 will go to state. So you can either make it in the top 2 of your region automatically. That's an automatic qualifying berth to state, or you have to be in that next group of 10 from throughout the whole state. So that's just important to note as we go through and talk about some of these individual events and kids events that they're in. We'll talk a little bit about the 4x800 meter relay team. We have one of those teams for the first time in a couple of years, few years actually. And, we've gotten a little bit of recognition from that. These kids have placed first in two meets. They placed second in a meet, and they placed fourth in a meet at Mason County. And I was pretty proud of that because, there were 11 teams in that meet, and there were some big schools. You're talking finishing ahead of us were schools like Ryle, like Russell, like Round County. There was another one up there, and those schools, one of them had like 600 kids in their high school. One of them had like 900 kids. And the other two that finished ahead of us had 16, 17, 1,800 kids in their school. And here Augusta High School is with 98 kids. And, the school behind us, Simon Kitten, finished fifth behind us, has almost 2,000 kids, I think. So it was good to see that our kids were up there competing with the big dogs, the big schools, so to speak. And like I said, we finished fourth in that meet. And in the last two races that we've competed, we finished in first. We didn't compete in the 4x8, this past meet for reasons I'll talk about in a minute. But, looking at the current Class A state rankings, there are currently 50 schools in the Class A that have competed in the 4x8 this season. And our kids currently have one of the best 10 times in the state. They currently come in ninth with their 9:08 mark they ran. So that's pretty impressive. And, right now we're ranked second in the region. We've got the second best time in the region. And, we're looking to give ourselves an opportunity to make the state meet. Obviously we would like to get it done in the region. We don't want to wait around for an automatic qualifying spot right now. And the thing about that rankings are, do they mean much? No, because you got to go out and you got to perform on the day of the regional championship. Having that 9:08 PR right now, and it is a school record as well, that doesn't mean anything if you go to the regional meet and run 9:30 and finish fourth or fifth. But it is good to look at. And it gives the kids motivation, I think. But, we're looking at a top 2 spot in the region. That's a possibility. And we're looking at an opportunity for this 4x8 team to make it to the state meet. And that would be really exciting. And we've had 2 kids make the state meet since I've been here, or since we've restarted the track program in 2015. We had Cameron Snap make it in the 1,600 meter run, and Stephen Cordell make it in the shot put. That's been it in the last 6 years. We had several girls who made it back in the 70s, but that's been a long stretch since then. So I'd certainly love to get 4 kids in the relay team back to the state meet. And before I go on talking about the other kids and their events, and I should probably mention that Connor Snap, Bryant Curtis, Matt Jones, and Mike Jones, those are our 4 kids that compete in the relay. There was a nice article in the Ledger Independent today. They didn't really do a track and field preview, so I think they're just going to do some stories on some of the local teams. And today's, or actually it was yesterday's, the Friday edition, had an article about us. So check that out if you want to. Obviously, there was some focus on the 4x8 because of our success so far in that. But they focus on a lot of the other kids too who have set some school records and personal records this season so far. Our 4x8, we're going to run it in Bourbon County next week, but we're not going to run it with our regular team. We want to give a couple other kids who are considered our alternates. If one of our kids would go down, if Mike, Matt, Connor, or Bryant would go down with an injury or wake up sick one day, we're going to have to stick somebody else in it. So we're going to give kids like Grayson and John an opportunity to run that 4x8 relay just to be sure that they've had an opportunity to run it at least once. So, we'll hopefully pick back up with our normal 4x8 team, in a couple weeks. So moving on to the individuals, Braden Appleman, thrower for us, first year that he's thrown, came out last year, but didn't get to compete because we got shut down due to COVID. He's PR'd 2 meets in a row in the throws. His current best of 85 feet 8 inches is his record in the discus, and he's thrown a personal best 32 feet 1 inch in the shot put. Our other throwers, John Paul Cordell. John Paul has PR'd several times this season in the shot put. His season best so far is 34 feet 5 inches. I think that's about a 6 foot improvement from where he was when we had track 2 years ago. And where he's really excelled though this season is the discus. He has, I believe, PR'd 3 or 4 times in the discus, and he set a school record 3 or 4 times in the discus. Keeps adding on to that. Currently, his best throw is 103 feet 3 inches. And I don't know what his distance thrown was the last time he threw it in 8th grade, but that's roughly about a 30-foot improvement. So John Paul making strides in the discus and setting some personal records there. Emma Young, who competes in the long jump force, she's competed a couple times, set a personal record, and has jumped a personal best of 10 feet 11 inches so far this season. That's with not getting into practice too much. We do have a jump pit, but it seems to stay flooded and a little on the wet side quite a bit of the time, but we make the best we can with that. Moving on to our runners, start with our lone girl runner, Braylee Curtis. Braylee Curtis breaking school records multiple times. She competes primarily in the 800-meter run and the 1,600-meter run, and her best 800-meter time, school record of 2:43.8, and a best 1,600-meter time of 6:08. So she continues to climb. She's climbed every meet, I think, in the 1,600, increased every meet at least by a second. So started out at 6:28 this season, down to 6:08, so 20 seconds off, knocked off her time thus far. Her slightly older brother, Bryant Curtis, his primary events are the 1,600 and the 3,200, and his 1,600 PR is 5:14. Just set that on Tuesday, and his 3,200 meter PR time is 11:11. So he really got that down. He ran it a couple times earlier in the season, was in the low 12s, 12:06, 12:02, somewhere in there, and then came out at Grand County and knocked 55 seconds off. Had an excellent run in the 3,200 meter there to place second, I think. And that's the thing, I'm talking about PRs and, school records and personal records, but several of these kids have gotten some, awards, medals, finished in the top 3, the top 5 in several meets this year. So, that's a good thing to see as well. John Hamm, John's running his first year of track and field, and actually his first year running, period. We moved him up, give him an opportunity to come on up to the varsity team, and he is, accepted that and chosen to do that. His best 800-meter time is 2 minutes 41.6, and his best 1,600-meter time is 6:02. Moving on to Matt Jones. Matt's done a variety of events for us. He's one of those guys that's kind of multi-talented, and we're trying to figure out what events we really want him to specialize in the region. Obviously, he's an important part of our 4x800-meter relay team. Where else do we want to stick him? And, so he's done the 400. He's ran that 4 times. Personal record is 59.95. He's ran the 800-meter for us. He's done that in 2:25.3. And the 1,600-meter run, he's ran in 5:24. Brother Mike Jones, much the same way. He's done a variety of events, trying to figure out where to put him as well. Mike has also ran the 400-meter dash 4 times. His best time is 58.51. He's ran the 800-meter, did that in 2:25.79. Ran the 1,600-meter run in 5:32. Only done that once. And I think Mike is also the one that one of the twins also ran the 3,200-meter once for me. And they got in the low 12s. And the other one's going to run it this week. So I believe it was Mike that has already ran it and Matt that is going to run it. Moving on to Grayson Miller. Grayson primarily are 1,600-meter and 3,200-meter events for us. He's ran the 1,600-meter in a personal best 5:37, and he's ran the 3,200-meter in 11:54. And the thing to mention with Grayson and with Braylee as our runners, they're multi-sport athletes. Braylee's also competing in middle school volleyball right now. and Grayson's also playing baseball. So those two have to, split their time up. So, they're working hard doing two sports, and the same with our throwers. Braden, in addition to throwing for the track and field team, he is a tennis player. And John Paul, splitting himself three ways this spring, playing baseball, playing tennis, and also on the track and field team throwing. But moving on to our last runner, Connor Snap. Connor has set the school record in the 800-meter run this year. His personal best time is 2 minutes and 13 seconds, 2:13.4 to be exact, or 0.43. And he's also set a personal record in the 1600-meter run just this past Tuesday at Mason County, running 5:01. 5:01.89 to be exact. So, less than 2 seconds away from going sub 5. And I know that's a goal of his and something we want him to do. Just missed that this past Tuesday. And he even ran the 3200-meter for us. Did that on last Friday at Grant County. He hadn't ran that since the 7th grade, sophomore now. And he PR'd in that, running 11:31. So that runs down all of our kids. And we've been doing a couple different things. We did some different things the last couple meets. We're part of the regular season in track is trying to find out what you want kids to run in the region, and what is the best strategy, and what is the best events you're going to put them in. And for example, the day Bryant ran the 11:11 at Grant County, he only did the 4x8. 4x8's the first event. The miles close to the end, we didn't have him run the 4x8's in the beginning, the 2 miles close to the end. We didn't have him run the mile that day. Maybe he was fresher. So we have to decide, maybe we don't run him in the mile in the region. There's a lot of strategy that goes into coaching track and field that doesn't go into coaching cross country. Cross country, everybody goes out and runs the same distance. They all go out and run a 5K. Not the case in track. So we've been doing some different things with the training. We've been doing some things to improve our 4x800 meter time. We didn't run it at Mason County. We kind of let a few of the guys focus on the 400, Matt and Mike, to work on some speed. We put Bryant in the 800 Mason County, which he doesn't normally do, but again, wanted him to have the opportunity to go out and run just the 800. See what he can do in that, not having to worry about the relay aspect of it, and run with the other guys. Run with Connor and the Jones twins. In the relay they don't get to run together; they're running one at a time. This gave them the opportunity to go out and run together. A little bit will be a similar strategy this week at Bourbon County. We are going to run the 4x8. The plan is that Connor and Bryant will run that, but they're going to run with John and Grayson. And again, part of that is to give John and Grayson the opportunity to run the 4x8 since they are our alternates. But it also will give us still the opportunity to have Matt and Mike run some other events. They wanted to both do the 400 to work on that speed, really show themselves how fast they can get a lap in since the 800 is just 2 laps. And we want to have Matt run the 2 miles since he hasn't done it yet. We want to see where he falls there. So playing around with the order of events, or not the order of events, but with the events that the kids are doing, and hoping to get back sort of more to normal here after Bourbon County. So kind of running down our schedule. Bourbon County meet May 5th. That's this Wednesday. Following Tuesday, May 11th, Buffalo Trace. That's always an exciting meet just because it's your local schools. The only schools that can come to that are Augusta, Bracken County, Mason County, Lewis County, Fleming County, Robertson County, which I'm not sure if they have high school track or not. They have started middle school, and St. Pat, but St. Pat doesn't have track. So a fairly small event, but it means something because it's your local schools. So looking forward to Buffalo Trace on May 11th, and that's just going to be, like I said, up the road at Bracken County. And then we go to Harrison County on May 20th, and that pretty much wraps up the regular season. We go to regional on May 31st at Danville. So, just 3 regular season meets left to fine tune. A lot of training time in there to get us ready for May 31st. And, with region being in Danville, 10 a.m. start, we wanted our kids to be fresh. We've communicated with this with parents. We're going to come in, do a little light workout on May 30th, and then we're going to get on a bus and go to Danville on Sunday night. And we got a hotel down there. The team's going to stay down there. That way we'll, instead of waking up at 5 a.m. on Monday morning, the kids can, get a good night's sleep, be down, there by probably 9 o'clock. And once we stop and have a nice meal, and then, get a good night's rest, can get up about 8 o'clock. We can be at the track, no later than 9 a.m. and we won't have to feel rushed. And I just think it'll be better for our kids, to get to do that. So looking forward here to these last few meets. If you have the opportunity to come out to Bracken County on May 11th, hopefully, some people can take advantage of that. Online tickets are most likely the way you'll have to get tickets, but we'll be posting information on our social media channels about that. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, learning, or getting a little update about how our kids are doing, how our program's doing. We'll probably do one of these maybe a little closer to region. We'll see. But we looking forward here to the next few weeks of getting better in practice and hopefully continuing to show those improvements in our meets. It's prom weekend. We want our kids to be safe. Those that are going to prom, be safe. I've encouraged them to make good decisions. So we hope everyone has a good time, but we want to see everyone back safe and sound on Monday at practice. So thank you all for tuning in, and go Panthers.